Hello aspirants, welcome to Ekam IS Academy. In this video, we are going to discuss about minimum support price. So why are we going to discuss about minimum support prices? Recently, Government of India has announced MSP for 14 Kharif crops for the season 2024 and 2025. So in this regard, we have to know what is MSP, why government is going to give MSP, for what crops MSP is being given, and what is the legal backing for MSP, and what is the evolution of MSP also, and how MSP will be calculated. All this will be discussing in this video in a very brief time. So here you can see number of crops that are covered, but before that you just have to know what is MSP. MSP is nothing but minimum support price. Why this MSP is being given to the farmers is in case of any distress sale or in case of a low market value also, the government is assuring that we are going to give you the minimum price. So there is no need to worry. So we are going to give a minimum price at which we are going to procure. That is what the price guaranteed. You can say it is a floor price that is determined and guaranteed by the Government of India in case of any distress sale, that we call it as MSP. So then how many crops are covered under MSP means currently we have 23 crops covered. So here you have 7 cereals, you have cereal crops, and 5 pulses are there. So what crops are covered under each you also have to know. Oil seeds, 7 categories are covered, along with which you also have raw cotton, and also you have raw jute and copra. Along with you have another crop, that is sugarcane, where we don't call it as MSP but we call it as fair and remunerative price for sugarcane. So these are the current crops which are under the ambit of MSP. Then who is going to decide this MSP? On what grounds are going to decide is a question. So who is going to decide MSP means there is a commission called Commission on Agriculture Costs and Prices, CACP. So this is not a statutory body. This is an attached office to the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So this is going to determine how much has to be the MSP. How much has to be the MSP. Then who is going to approve this? That means this will forward the rate. Okay, they will prepare this much can be the MSP. Then the final approval will be given by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, headed by the Prime Minister. So this is a Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs headed by the Prime Minister, who is going to finally give a call on MSP. So this is where the approval comes for MSP. Then we also need to understand what is the evolution of MSP. Is there any law that has been passed in India to give a legal backing to MSP means no. So that is why it is not mandatory on the government to give MSP, but it is being given as a price support system. Okay, then we also need to understand what is evolution. So in 1960s, if you know, there is a situation where we are facing food shortage and food deficit, right? So to meet this particular problem and to overcome this problem and to increase our food production and all, so what we have introduced as part of Green Revolution, we started introducing high yield varieties and also use of fertilizers and pesticides and all these things, right? So when we are using these many things at the input level, what happens? Input cost increases. When input cost increases for the farmer, what happens? Then he also need to increase the price of that particular crop. When prices increase, okay, so the people may face the burden. That is why to regulate the prices, we have a committee called Agriculture Price Commission that was constituted in the year 1965, especially to look into the price issue. Then we also have in the same year Dantawala Committee. Dantawala Committee was also constituted in the year 1965 to regulate the prices of different agriculture crops. Then what happened in 1968? There is a commission that was created to regulate the prices, and finally in 1980s we have this particular commission called Commission on Agriculture Costs and Prices. This is going to be the organization or attached office that will determine how much has to be the MSP. Then what is the another thing you need to understand is how is MSP being calculated by CACP. How they're going to calculate means you need to understand 3 different terms: A2 plus FL as well as C2. Okay, so what is this A2 means? Whatever all the costs that a farmer incur in the process of production, that we call as the A2 price. So then what is this particular price of A2? A2 plus FL means here all the costs that are there in as part of A2. Already we have seen that is all the costs that is incurred in the process of production. At the same time, if you add family labor, which is unpaid. So normally when the father and mother works, so when the male person of the family works, the female also joins to help him. Same with the children also. So all these are unpaid labors, right? So that also has to be calculated, because all they're leaving their respective works or they're not taking their education or they're taking part of this particular thing. Even the disguised employment also, which is taking part in this particular agricultural activity, also will be calculated under this family labor. So this is what A2 plus FL. Then what is this C2? C2 is nothing but the rent or you can say the money that is spent on rent or even running a tractor and getting all the equipment and all, that we consider it as C2. But how much is the MSP calculated and what grounds means currently, whenever this MSP is being determined by CACP, then A2 and A2 plus FL is being taken into the criteria. So that is what MSP, how it is getting determined. Then C2 is not considered, but they will understand what is the level of C2, how much cost they're spending, but that is not taken into the final consideration when they're going to prepare how much has to be the MSP. Then what other factors will be taken into consideration means what is the cost of production, what is the demand and supply, what is the international price, and what is the intercrop price parity. All these aspects also will be taken into consideration by CACP while it is determining MSP. So currently you have to understand that MSP is being given for 23 crops, and currently in this present context we have discussed for 14 Kharif crops this particular MSP has been enhanced. And almost, like for example, if you have remembered last year, so we have MS Swaminathan, our father of Indian Green Revolution, has passed away. So MS Swaminathan Committee or National Commission on Farmers, what he suggested is MSP should be in a way which will cover almost 1.5 times of the cost of production. That will make farming a remunerative thing. That is what he opined. So currently we are not guaranteeing 1.5 times, but again on these grounds we are ensuring MSP. So let's see the practice question for the day. What role does the Food Corporation of India do in the context of MSP? MSP sets the MSP price for agriculture products, or FCA purchases the crops from farmers at MSP, or FCA distributes subsidies to the farmers based on MSP, or FCA exports surplus crops to the brought at MSP. What is the role of FCA in this regard with respect to MSP? Answer in the comment section and do let us know the answer. So in this video, we have discussed about MSP, its legal backing, what is CACP and what is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, how is the MSP going to be calculated, and what are all the crops that are covered under the ambit of MSP. All these which are important from examination point of view, we have discussed in this video. MSP is an important topic is because all the time, like for example, in the last 3-4 years, if you have seen 2-3 times UPSC have asked specifically about MSP and what type of crops are under the ambit of MSP. So it is very much important for your prelims as well as mains. Do watch us regularly. Thank you. All the very best.